Thank you for joining us on Health Diary. My name is Gladys Gashanja and we're coming to you from the Westwood Hotel here in Nairobi. Now, did you know that caring for someone too much could actually hurt you? Yup, taking care of somebody without really being aware of your emotional health, and we're talking about your loved ones who are not well or any other person who cannot take care of themselves, can actually lead to something we call compassion fatigue. The realities of compassion fatigue coming your way, starting with this fact of a matter. Compassion fatigue, also known as secondary traumatic stress (STS), is a preoccupation with absorbing trauma and emotional stresses of others, and this creates a secondary traumatic stress in the helper. Though common among workers who work directly with victims of disasters, trauma, or illness, especially in the healthcare industry, it can also affect family members taking care of a loved one. When caregivers focus on others without practicing self-care, this can lead to depression, isolation, apathy, substance abuse, among other self-destructive behaviors. While the effects of compassion fatigue can cause pain and suffering, learning to recognize and manage its symptoms is the first step towards healing.
I've been a caregiver for 3 years. My mom got a stroke towards the end of January 2017. It was the last Saturday of January. She had actually just been in Nairobi. She had visited me on her way from the US and then gone to Kakamega, and then she got the stroke. And so that's where the journey began. About 3 months after she came to live with me, I resigned from my workplace. And I would say that was a big transition. And it shifted me from just simply financing her care to actually engaging in her care. Despite having paid nurse aides, it did not exempt me from all the emotion and the responsibility that comes with being a family caregiver. I think the first thing I dealt with was anxiety, the anxiety of my mother could go any minute. It took a long time for me to be comfortable to be out of the house for even half a day. I would be so scared. And unless you process that, you can unconsciously also begin to feel resentful. Resentful towards the person you're caring for, resentful towards God, resentful even towards yourself. Then my mom was also processing. She was processing her loss of independence. I had shifted to the role of the caregiver, and it was such an intense role that I would forget to be just her daughter. At that point, I thought, I'm alone and I'm stressed and this is overwhelming. And yet I was really enjoying the blessing of being with my mom. At some point, I got into a serious negotiations and arguments with God. Are you punishing me? What is it? What have I done wrong? Everybody who called, save for a few, they were only interested in my mom because she was the sick person. I was well. Compassion fatigue takes a long time to recover from. Be patient with yourself.
So how exactly does taking care of somebody hurt you? Let's find out. And to help us do so, we have Rosa Sananu, who is a counseling psychologist. Thank you for your time. And we have David Wanjala, who is a caregiver to a wife who actually went through a miscarriage. Thank you for joining us. Now, I'll start with you, Rosa. It kind of sounds like an emotional burnout. Is it?
Yes, it is, because the basic definition of compassion fatigue is being preoccupied with the stress of other people. So it is also referred to as a secondary traumatic stress, where you find that the caregiver has accumulated the stress and the emotional trauma of the person that they're giving care to. So in essence, the fact that they're taking care of a vulnerable person ends up hurting them or overwhelming them if not taken care of.
Somebody might be wondering, what's the difference between compassion fatigue and burnout as we know it?
Yes. So for burnout, we majorly look at the physical this person experiences physical exhaustion. And the major difference with compassion fatigue is that with compassion fatigue, the person goes through emotional exhaustion and a dread of taking care of this person, and the fact that caregiving begins to lose meaning. So for burnout, it can happen also for any, let me say, career, because it's just majorly an accumulation of fatigue. But with compassion fatigue, this is most common for people who are caregiving or giving care to people who are emotionally vulnerable or traumatized. So we are talking about journalists, nurses, pastors, social workers, counselors, and informal caregivers, now people who take care of their relatives who are unwell.
Yeah. And David is one of them. You took care of your wife. At what point, going by what Rosa is describing, did you realize that you were suffering from compassion fatigue?
Actually, it hadn't hit me that I'm actually a sufferer of the same until you talked about it. And when I did a research on the same, and I realized, oh my, this is something that has hit me hard because of the irritability I had, because of the exhaustion I had. You know, like, I'm not a heavy sleeper, but I would end up sleeping for even 9-10 straight hours. I used to have a normal blood pressure. I remember the last time I was diagnosed as hypertensive, 158 over 138, and that's too high. Actually, I remember the doctor asking me, how did I get to the hospital? Because I'm supposed to be actually on a wheelchair or something like that. So really, there are some predisposing issues that came up as a result of the same, and I unknowingly was a patient without actually seeking a remedy for the same.
Does it set on immediately, or is it something that you grow into with time depending on the exposure to the person you're taking care of?
It comes gradually, but the key to note is when someone is not taking care of themselves, because one may get the compassion fatigue, but they are aware and they are able to, before they get to that level of being overwhelmed, they are able to get their triggers and their signs. So compassion fatigue really depends on the exposure, depends on the kind of caregiving that this person is giving, because for some they are not as exposed as others, and also the level of self-care or the level of care that this person is giving to themselves, not to the other person.
What are the symptoms we're talking about?
There is a feeling of just being purely tired. Even after getting, say, rest or sleeping or relaxing, you still feel very exhausted. Irritability, anxiety. So if I am taking care of a patient, I actually dread taking care of them, but I still feel guilty for not taking care of them. And then over time, the caregiving begins to lose meaning. So you're doing it, but it doesn't give you satisfaction. It actually just gives you a lot of dread. Trouble sleeping is another symptom. And isolation, you find that the caregiver tends to isolate themselves from hobbies, from social and personal relationships that gave them meaning. So this person becomes very isolated. Depression is also another symptom of compassion fatigue. And then over time, this person also loses meaning in their own work. Any other work other than caregiving, you find that this person begins to lose meaning in it.
Yes. Okay, so David, you were catering for a wife that had undergone a miscarriage. She not only underwent that, but you were also part and parcel of that experience. How did you relate the two in as far as how you were feeling now after the fact?
First thing, when the baby is diagnosed as dead in the stomach, the first thing you start looking for is how to be cleaned. Now that has some, one, psychological impact, two, it has some economic impact. Then thinking that even after doing this you will not have a live kid, that also hits on you. But then again, your wife has to be alive. She has to live. And you need to go all the way for her. But because you're taking care of her, she feels loved, she feels cared for, she heals faster. But you remain with a trauma that, if not careful, it's going to affect the way you relate with everyone after that. It affected my productivity at work. It affected the way I worked with my workmates, the way I related with them. It affected me so much such that people would wonder what is wrong with this gentleman. Usually I'm a sanguine, I'm bubbly, I like talking to people, I love laughing. I can tell you for a fact, for quite some times, I've not been able to joke and laugh the way I've always done.
What should, in the case of David and many others that are taking care of other people, be aware of so that you stop it before it gets to that point?
One of the things to be aware of is of your own limitation as a human being. Because you see, when our loved ones get into positions or situations that they are most vulnerable, because we love them, we feel that we need to sort and fix it out. Number two is to be aware of your triggers, because there are other predisposing factors like personality and previous experiences, and even the caregiver, have they been a victim of trauma before? So be aware of your triggers. The other thing to be aware of is that self-care is not selfish. That self-care does not mean that you do not love your loved one. Self-care does not mean that it is neglecting your care, your person, the person that you're giving care to. So that self-care is not a luxury but a necessity. So once you're aware of that, you will prioritize yourself, because you know that you cannot pour from an empty cup. Find time to actually take care of your hobbies, the leisure activities, something that it piques your interest and something that rejuvenates you. For some people, it could be yoga. For some people, it could be praying. It could be exercise. But ensure that you're filling in your emotional cup. Be very alert to keep your social connection. Call up a friend. You can even ask a friend to call you at the same time every day or every week, just to keep checking on you and how you're doing emotionally. You have to realize that there are people who would offer help if only you asked and if only you allowed them to.
Okay, and David, a lot of what she's saying has a lot to do with even accepting that it's happening in the first place. Yeah. Some of it I'm sure you are aware of. But at what point did the male ego check in for, I've got this?
I couldn't cry before my wife, to tell you the truth. But there are many times I would wake up at 5 to prepare to go to work and cry in the sitting room, because I felt I'm falling apart. But then I can't remember the last time I sat down and talked to my friends about my issues. Not until now I met still a mom and I realized my wife is talking to people. I have to create my own group to talk to. But most men do not want to talk about it. It has made me into an introvert that I have never been ever since I grew up.
Compassion fatigue is highly associated with self-destructive behavior. When we come back, Rosa will tell us some of those. And of course, David will also speak on the fact that he also met some of them face to face in a bid to survive that season, right after this break.
Alpha Gated Homes Limited offers affordable 3-bedroom bungalows along Kangunda Road in a modern gated community only 300 meters from the main road. Tastefully designed and spacious. Master ensuite, open kitchen and a spacious lounge. Unit cost 4.5 million. Just deposit 1.8 million and the balance in flexible installments. Get value in rental income or multiply your money in real estate. Contact us on 0787 700 700 or 0729 041 411. Alpha Gated Homes Limited. Decent, affordable housing. Send M-Pesa up to 1,000 Kenya shillings for free. Avoid contact with paper cash. Safaricom is for you.
Look how happy my baby is.
I tried different brands, but now I've discovered the world-famous Molfix and saw the difference. Let's see how absorbent Molfix is. Molfix, thanks to its ultra-absorbent particles, can keep more liquid than the other diaper brand, so you can use it comfortably all day long. All babies deserve a high-quality diaper. You should also try Molfix.
This is NTV.
Barabara kabisa popote pale ulipo, basi kwa hivi sasa wanahabari wetu wako mbioni kukuandalia taarifa kemkem ndani ya NTV Jioni, lakini kwa sasa tupate vipasho.
9 are males and 7 are females.
Watu 16 zaidi wapatikana virusi vya corona, na hivyo idadi ya visa hapa Kenya ni 142.
Any matatu operator found not observing the said directives will have their SACCO licenses suspended and the vehicle bonded.
Vyama vya matatu vyaonywa huku marufuku ya safari za ndege za kimataifa ikiongezwa mwezi. Wakatoliki wengi wajiunga na maadhimisho ya Jumapili ya Mitende kupitia runinga.
Tunaomba pia serikali watusaidie na chakula.
Na wakazi wa Marsabit wakodelea macho baa la njaa kufuatia uvamizi wa nzige mpya. Na mtazamaji, basi ni kionjo tu. Kwa uhondo kamili sikose kuungana nami Jane Ngoiri itakapofika saa 1 saa za Afrika Mashariki ndani ya taarifa za NTV Jioni.
Mara ngapi things are thick? Tika kama yeye penzi lenye mpaka kwa macho.
Na wewe unamjuaje?
I was his fiance.
Cheka storo kibao na 200% storo bonus. Piga simu zaidi, tuma SMS au nunua bundles ufikishe target yako leo. Isitoshe, pata 50% extra airtime unapo top up na kupiga *544*2* amount hash. Safaricom, for you.
The global diaper brand Molfix is now in Kenya. Please welcome the Molfix Band.
Molfix, so absorbent. Playtime is much more fun than ever. Come on, it's time for playing. Molfix is comfy and we love it.
Molfix, with its double absorbent system, absorbs the liquid immediately and traps the liquid in. Also, with its elastic side bands, Molfix offers freedom of movement. You should also try Molfix.
My name is Eli Kuchoke. I would like to take this opportunity to wish all my fellow Kenyans peace and safety during these difficult times as we fight the coronavirus pandemic. Take the necessary precautions to keep yourself and your family safe. To my fellow athletes, please train in isolation and take necessary precautions. We shall overcome this pandemic. May God bless you and God bless Kenya.
Thank you for staying with Health Diary. My name is Gladys Gashanja. Our conversation on Health Diary today, compassion fatigue. Still with us, Rosa Sanal, who is a counseling psychologist, and we have David Wanjala, who's had an experience with compassion fatigue. Now, Rosa, are there people that are affected by compassion fatigue more than others? And I'm talking about the gender here. More male or more female?
I would say coping mechanisms is what would make others more vulnerable to the effects compared to others. Like he was saying, you may find that the female gender tend to either talk about it more or they are open to seeking help. Cases like dementia, Alzheimer's, they tend to go for longer. So when you're coming with a logical mindset to want to fix it, especially for the male gender, you find that they're maybe more predisposed to the effects of compassion fatigue.
David, I don't know, in your situation, trying to maneuver the season, did you find yourself in some of these negative places?
Instead of being the sanguine that I was forced to think differently about things in life, and I became calculative and sensitive about everything. To tell you the truth, even now, how you relate with your wife kind of changes, because you're afraid if she becomes pregnant again, will this happen? So it also impacts on your sex life. It's a fact of life. Yes, I became very negative in the way I looked at life and pregnancy and all that. But one thing that helped me is when I sat down, I wrote in my phone, I wrote every feeling I had. I pray to God my wife never reads it. I pray to God nobody ever reads it, because I used it to vent out the frustrations I had. But it really affected my personality.
You may find that there are those who may get into overworking themselves. So they may whatever they do, they're overdoing it. So if it is work, they use that as a distraction to not confront the emotional overwhelm that they are going through. So some of them may be into different types of addiction, either sex addiction, work that I have mentioned, substance abuse, and there are some that may isolate themselves. Isolation is also a form of destructive behavior, because if it is work, they'll not show up to work, or they will not be productive in the work that they do. Others may indulge into a lot of religiosity, so that even whatever is meant to work for your wellness, like religion and the spiritual exercises, they will overdo it to keep themselves from confronting the pain and the fatigue emotionally that they are facing, because compassion fatigue comes with a sense of loss. You see, I have lost control over something. I cannot control this situation my loved one is in. They need to go through the anger that I cannot control this. Sometimes you're angry at the person you're taking care of. You feel that, why did you get sick? Why did this happen to you? So someone needs to go through these feelings. Otherwise, when they get to an overwhelm, the only thing you will do now is self-destruct.
A big part of that sounds like therapy is key. Apart from talking to your peers, other men, did you find some sort of relief?
I ought to have gone through a therapy. I ought to. But I think it's the attitude I have towards therapists sometimes is a problem. Because you see, if you don't have a wife who has gone through a miscarriage, what authority do you have to sit down and tell me about the same thing? If you haven't really been through what I've been through, what gives you the moral authority to tell me or speak to me about the same issue? My wife went to church and she was helped, but I felt these people are not an authority on me because they've not gone through what I've gone through. I went to Stella Mom, very good people. But now, where are the men? What is the role of the father, the husband in it? It's not making sense to me. Sometimes my wife would speak to me and I would respond in a tone only she realizes it's not the correct tone. And I would tell God, now what am I doing?
And one of the things that we help demystify counseling is we ask, if you were to walk into a hospital, for example, say you have a headache or you have a stomach upset, you wouldn't want to ask, I want the doctor who's had a stomach upset lately so that they can treat me. No,
fair enough.
Like you felt what I have felt. You will ask, I want a qualified licensed person, because there are laymen who've gone through stomach upset and they will give you some concoctions that will make you worse. So even for counseling, what we say is find a licensed professional therapist who has actually gone to school to identify your emotional, your psychological behaviors that are linked to destructiveness and some of the coping mechanisms that will work for wellness. So the place of therapy is to help someone process, talk about it, and also sometimes deal with other underlying issues that could be making the compassion fatigue more compounded in this individual. Because like I said, if you take an example of an individual who's been a victim of trauma themselves, they may be working through their trauma by caregiving.
What would be your message to fellow men out there?
First thing every man should do is seek for help. because you hear people killing their wives in the house. You hear people killing themselves in the house. Policemen shooting themselves and shooting their families. Men knifing their wives and knifing themselves or hanging themselves. It is because of such kind of things that are happening in their lives. Men can also be talked to. They can also be helped to process their grief, to process their fatigue, to process their emotions, because we are very poor in emotional process. We're very poor.
Yes.
And we take it on our employer, we take it on our colleagues, we take it on our friends, and sometimes we hit the bottle.
Is this something that is recognized by the health system as something that has to do with mental health?
It is still something that is coming up. It was mostly known for the nurses and the medics, but now I believe that other professions are embracing it, and even in the mental health sector, that it's a conversation we are beginning to have about the different sectors that are more prone to compassion fatigue, so that we can address it as mental health professionals. And even for the counselors, just versing ourselves with the various categories, so that we are able to even pick it as something to deal with in our sessions.
What measures should be put in place to support those that are dealing with compassion fatigue, especially in the workplace?
Talk to your people. Have employer assistance programs that talk about mental health specifically. Having an in-house therapist or a mechanism of referral to therapists as a workplace policy, so that even at the workplace, therapy is demystified. It is not seen as someone is about to lose their job because they are suddenly going crazy. Because you see, sometimes in the workplace, people may tend to associate mental health or seeking therapy as being crazy. So we start assuming you are underperforming. And because of that environment we create for you, you feel that I cannot do this because I still need to keep the status that my workmates look at me with. So if we demystify that as employers and put some workplace policies in place, do the trainings, help employees in self-awareness, talk about what they're going through, and even just putting therapy as something that they can go for, like the coffee breaks, and the team buildings that you go for, and therapy is so accessible, even in the insurance programs that workplaces offer. I believe that is it is key, and it will push us a step further in dealing with such matters.
Very well said. Rosa Sanel, counseling psychologist. David Wanjala, thank you so much for your time and demystifying what compassion fatigue. It is real and it affects all of us one way or another. And as Rosa said, self-awareness is the key. Time now for the health tip.
Health tip brought to you by Good Life Pharmacy.
On the upper extremities, we will start with the elbow support. This one is mainly for what we call tennis and golf elbows. The wrist straps again can be used for edema. Edema is basically swelling or pain. It compresses it down. Ankle support. It has a strap for individualized fixation. The light fixations, this is also an ankle support for very mild pain. We also have the knee support, which is mainly for the post-operative care. Abdominal belts, which are mainly used for abdominal post-surgery care. They are also used as a tummy trimmer. The sacrolumbar, this is for the back care, and the spine injuries, spine issues. You can get all these supports in any of our Good Life outlets. We are all about you.
Health tip brought to you by Good Life Pharmacy.
Mental health is such a crucial conversation to keep on having, and that's why compassion fatigue had to be heard today on Health Diary. Thank you for your suggestions coming through to us on our social media handles. My name is Gladys Gashanja, and we've been coming to you from the Westwood Hotel here in Nairobi. Until next time, take care. So I finish at that point and start again. I'm sorry, Kyoko, forgive me. Hi, sawa. Really? So why did we stop? It's nature. Hi, Abasi. Let's go. Until next time, take care.
Kill it. You killed it. Bury it.
Sawa.
sensitivity is a short, sharp pain that people experience when they have something hot or cold getting to the nerve of the tooth. Dentists recommend Sensodyne to their patients. It's able to get inside the tooth and calm the nerve of the tooth down, and the proof's in the results. It works.
Just move to the next level with the Daily Nation. Every day, every Monday, Junior Sport will move you to the top of your class with KCPE revision papers. To move to a healthier, fitter, and more conscious you, read The Healthy Nation every Tuesday. My network will inspire your career, your passion, your biashara, and your network every Friday. Just move to the truth.
This seems like the best option right now. Look, it's only for today until you fix your uniform.
Hey, bongo baby. Unaweza labda niweke karaka. Sarah, hii ni nguo ya mamangu hii.
You could leave your ring here. You never know, accidents happen.
You're sweet. You know that?
Now I know, baby.
Wacha nikupigie, nataka kupata store bonus. Hello? Locust zimeenda? Na kuzeeka? Wacha. Na zinapikwaje? 200% store bonus. Locust zinakulwaje bila chumvi na kilo moja mnauzaje? Pokoteni hezi beba. Kwa hivyo nikuja napika plini. Ongea na mama yuko hapa.
Tumemaliza story. Shika storo kibao na 200% storo bonus. Piga simu zaidi, tuma SMS au nunua bundles ufikishe target yako leo. Isitoshe, pata 50% extra airtime unapo top up na kupiga *544*2* amount hash. Safaricom, for you.
When you're facing stubborn stains, you're always in a fierce fight, especially when others are fleeing away. However, with ClearSoft, I can make it so easy.
ClearSoft iko na 3 times particle energy to particles to blue, husaidia kutoa mastain ngumu ngumu, na ina enzymes za kulinda nguo zako ndio ziachwe zikikaa fresh.
ClearSoft kicks out stains kimateki. Uko serious?
Baba amekuwa mgonjwa, amekonda, hata ana nguvu.
Nakata kwenda hospitali kwa nini? Si nilikwambia tuwezi jua kwa hakika kama ni TB. Mpaka uende hospitali upimwe. Na kama ni TB, unatibiwa kwa hospitali yote bila malipo. Tests unafanywa bila malipo. Madawa unapewa bila malipo. Utaambukiza kila mtu kwa hii nyumba.
Usingoje hadi dakika ya mwisho. Pimwa kwenye hospitali ya serikali. Matibabu inapatikana bila malipo. TB inakinga na tiba.
Send M-Pesa up to 1,000 Kenya shillings for free. Avoid contact with paper cash. Safaricom is for you.
Sona moja imetengenezwa kwa njia spesheli ili kupambana na maumivu kwa haraka. Sona moja ina aspirin kama kiungo. Sona moja, kitulizo kamili. Maumivu yakizidi, pata ushauri wa daktari.
Automated parking system, you can now pay for parking in 3 stress-free ways. Using M-Pesa through the USSD code *486*12#, or using cash at the CAPS payment points located in the parkings, or using your preloaded CAPS A card. No payment will be done at the exits.
When you're facing stubborn stains, you're always in a fierce fight. ClearSoft kicks out stains kimateki.
Send M-Pesa up to 1,000 Kenya shillings for free. Avoid contact with paper cash. Safaricom is for you.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Get ready, no. Get ready.
ready, set, jump to the rhythm as hard as you can go. Steady, to the letter, right? Turn it up, we're giving the show.
Hey.
Hey.
What'd I miss?
This is NTV.
Na barabara kabisa, ni jioni ya tarehe 5 mwezi Aprili. Natumai hapo ulipo basi uko tayari kuzipokea taarifa tulizokuandalia ndani ya NTV jioni, lakini kwanza tupate vipasho.
9 are males and 7 are females.
Watu 16 zaidi wapatikana virusi vya corona, na hivyo idadi ya visa hapa Kenya ni 142.
Any matatu operator found not observing the said directives will have their SACCO licenses suspended and the vehicle bonded.
Vyama vya matatu vyaonywa huku marufuku ya safari za ndege za kimataifa ikiongezwa mwezi. Wakatoliki wengi wajiunga na maadhimisho ya Jumapili ya Mitende kupitia runinga.
Tunaomba pia serikali watusaidie na chakula.
Na wakazi wa Marsabit wakodolea macho baa la njaa kufuatia uvamizi wa nzige wapya.
Mbashara kutoka jumba la Nation. Hii ni NTV jioni na Ngoiri.
Na mtazamaji, basi ni furaha iliyoje kuungana nawe tena hewani. Karibu katika lugha ishara, tuko naye David Agondoa. Mtazamaji, kaunti za Nairobi, Mombasa na Kilifi zimeendelea kurekodi ongezeko la maambukizi ya virusi vya homa ya corona, huku Wizara ya Afya sasa ikitangaza visa 16 vipya. Aidha, serikali imesema wanaofariki kutokana na ugonjwa huo watazikwa katika muda wa saa 24. Kulingana na katibu msimamizi wa Wizara ya Afya, Daktari Mwangangi, waliopimwa virusi kufikia sasa ni 3836.
In the last 24 hours, we have tested a total of 530 samples, out of which 16 people have tested positive for coronavirus disease. Out of this number, 15 are Kenyans and 1 Nigerian national. Out of this number, 11 have got a history of travel, while 5 are locally transmitted. This now brings the total number of those who have tested positive for the disease in the country to 138. Out of this number, 9 are from the quarantine facilities, while 7 are from contact tracing. The 16 people have already been moved into isolation in various health facilities, and contact tracing is ongoing. To date, we have managed to test 3,836 samples from individuals. The distribution of these new cases, according to their counties, is as follows: Nairobi, 12, Mombasa, 3, Kilifi, 1. In terms of gender, 9 are males and 7 are females. The ages of the confirmed cases range from 22 to 66 years. We have so far monitored 1,833 contacts, and out of this number, 1,384 have been discharged. Currently, there are 449 contacts that we are actively tracing. We want to reiterate that persons who pass away due to coronavirus will have to be buried within 24 hours from the time of death. And the burials are restricted to less than 15 close family members.
Na serikali sasa itawapokonya leseni na kuwashtaki wahudumu wa magari ya umma na pikipiki watakaokiuka maagizo yanayolenga kudhibiti kusambaa kwa virusi vya corona humu nchini. Aidha, marufuku ya safari za ndege za kimataifa itaendelea kudumishwa kwa siku 30 zijazo.
From tomorrow, Monday, 6th April 2020, any matatu operator found not observing the set directives will have their SACCO licenses suspended and the vehicle bonded. The offenders will also be charged in a court of law in line with the Public Health Act for deliberately spreading the virus. And the border riders who continue to flout the directives already issued, their motorcycles will be impounded and they will face the full force of the law. As you may recall, the government suspended international flights for a period of 2 weeks from Wednesday, 25th March 2020, which expires today at midnight. After serious consideration of the situation, the government has extended the ban for another 30 days with effect from tomorrow, 6th April 2020. This suspension will not, however, apply to those flights that are coming in to evacuate foreign nationals from the country. It also exempts cargo flights that are coming to the country to deliver goods.
Wakati huo huo, serikali imesitiza kwamba haitarudi nyuma kuhusu msimamo wake wa kuongeza muda wa kuzuia watu 2,050 katika vituo mbalimbali nchini kama njia moja ya kudhibiti kusambaa kwa virusi vya corona. Japo kumekuwa na madai kuwa mazingira ni duni, kwa serikali inaonekana ni mwiba wa kujidunga usiokuwa na pole. Leila Mohamed ana maelezo zaidi.
The idea of putting in place mandatory quarantine was actually needed and useful to protect the community and to protect our country.
This is the water we use for drinking. You can see. Put in the gloves and the masks.
Siku moja baada ya serikali kuongeza muda wa kuwazuia waliotoka ng'ambo katika vituo mbalimbali nchini, waathiriwa wameonyesha mazingira wanaoishi na kuilaumu serikali.
You have like MTC where you have 11 cases coming up. Then we have no choice but to extend that quarantine period so that we can protect the general population.
Kwa mujibu wa serikali, kati ya watu 16 zaidi waliothibitishwa kuwa na virusi vya corona, 9 ni watu ambao kwa sasa wanaishi katika vituo vya karantini.
Almost 54 to 55% of the cases that have turned positive, we have picked them from the quarantine facilities. In certain facilities, people didn't maintain the physical distancing.
Kwa wale ambao wanaendelea kuzuiliwa katika taasisi mbalimbali kutokana na amri ya serikali, wanasema kwamba gharama ya kuendelea kuishi katika maeneo hayo kwa siku zingine 14 inakuwa kubwa, na wanaitaka serikali kubatilisha uamuzi wake.
We will not, however painful this decision is, we will not waver on the extent of protecting Kenyans just to please a few people who have failed to comply with very simple instructions.
We don't know how safe we are over here. We surely expect that we would be much more safer in our own houses because we're not meeting so many people.
Siku 12 zimepita sasa na taswira hii hawajaifurahia. Hata hivyo, serikali imesema sio wote ambao walikiuka maagizo, kwani katika kituo kimoja mambo ni shwari.
Places like Trademark where we tested 144 and all of them tested negative.
Leila Mohamed, NTV.
Na hayo yakijiri ni kwamba visa vya maambukizi ya homa ya korona vimeendelea kuongezeka Kenya, na sasa taifa hili linaongoza Afrika Mashariki kwa idadi ya maambukizi. Eunice Omolo ana maelezo ya kina.
Kwa kipindi cha siku 7 pekee, visa vya maambukizi ya COVID-19 nchini vimeongezeka kwa visa 100 kutoka visa 42 hadi 142 hii leo. Waliotibiwa na kupona ni 4 na waliofariki ni 4. Kati waliopata virusi 81 ni wanaume na 61 ni wa jinsia ya kike. 105 ni waliosafiri kutoka ng'ambo, huku 37 wakiambukiziwa papa hapa nchini. Walio karantini ambao wamepatikana na virusi ni watu 60. Takribani kisa kimoja kati ya 8 vya maambukizi vya humu nchini ni cha mtoto wa chini ya umri wa miaka 18. Watu wasiozidi 10 wanapokea matibabu katika vyumba vya wagonjwa mahututi katika hospitali mbalimbali nchini. Kuna wagonjwa 20 walio na umri wa zaidi ya miaka 55. Wengi wao wanapokea matibabu ya dharura kutokana na matatizo mengine ya kiafya kama kisukari na shinikizo la damu. Eunice Omolo, NTV.
Na umesikia hapo Eunice Omolo akisema visa vya maambukizi vya korona humu nchini vinaongezeka. Na basi katika swali la leo tunakuuliza, je, vijana waitikie vipi mwito wa serikali wa kudhibiti maambukizi ya virusi vya korona? Je, vijana waitikie vipi mwito wa serikali kwa kudhibiti maambukizi ya virusi vya korona? Sema nasi kupitia mitandao yetu ya kijamii, Twitter @Ngoiri official, pamoja na Facebook na NTV Jioni, na pia unaweza tuma ujumbe wako kwa nambari 20686. Baada ya muda usiokuwa mrefu, bila shaka nitakuwa nasoma mawili matatu kutoka kwako. Basi mtazamaji, wengi wamekuwa wakiuliza nzige walikwenda wapi? Basi kaunti ya Marsabit inakabiliwa na tishio la baa la njaa baada ya nzige wapya kuvamia maeneo la Isamis na North Horr na kuharibu zaidi ya ekari 60,000 za malisho. Imedaiwa kuwa janga la virusi vya korona limelemaza juhudi za kupambana na nzige katika eneo hilo. Mwanahabari wetu wa Marsabit, Mamo Ali, anaarifu zaidi.
Kaunti ya Marsabit sasa ndio makao makuu mapya ya nzige wapya wa jangwani ambao wamekuwa waharibifu na tishio kwa jamii ya wafugaji. Maeneo bunge ya Isamis na Horr kaskazini yametajwa kuwa chimbuko la nzige hao wapya.
In terms of crop production, we are looking at losses of up to 60% because the locusts are still here with us. You have seen that they are in Gofchoba. You have seen here the damage they have left, and they are only flying out of the scare. They are only shifting their point of attack. So they move from Dodogish, they go to another particular area. So the same damage is still within the county and is affecting both the pasture and the crop farms.
Wakazi 40,000 wamo hatarini kutokana na hali ya kiangazi iliyoko.
Nzige imetuadhiri zaidi kwa sababu wanamaliza nyasi, hakuna nyasi. Saa hii ni wakati wa mvua, lakini sisi kama jamii tumeadhirika sana, hakuna nyasi, tunapata kiangazi mapema.
Elizabeth Epkut ambaye ni mkazi wa Loyangalani na mama wa watoto 8 anasema wanalazimika kutafuta malisho maeneo yaliyo mbali na wanakoishi.
Hata hiyo mifugo sasa simeenda mbali sana kwa sababu hakuna nyasi wanapata huku karibu. Sasa watu wako na njaa kabisa, wanakaa vibaya sana.
Marsabit 80% depends on pastoralism and 16% depends on agropastoralism. If these two livelihoods are threatened, it means that for the next 6 months, the communities won't get sustenance for their families and also for the market vibrancy.
Looking at the damage, looking at the ravage, devour of pasture which has been caused by this invasion, this thing needs to be treated as a national disaster.
Tunaomba pia serikali watusaidie na chakula ya watu na pia hiyo mbuzi, kwa sababu kama ni ya watu peke yake mali itakufa. Tunataka both animals and people.
Tena wakati bado tunafuatilia mambo za Locust, ndio hii tena mambo ya ugonjwa. Sasa kila pahali imefungwa. Hakuna kwenda kwa jirani ati unaomba nini, unaomba chumvi, unaomba nini, hakuna.
Vita dhidi ya kuzuia kuenea kwa nzige vimekumbwa na changamoto tofauti katika eneo hili.
Unaona mtu anashika dawa na mkono, hakuna overall, hakuna kinga nzuri, mtu anahitaji maji, mtu anahitaji maziwa, hakuna chochote, ingawa wanatusaidia ni minimal.
Facilitation for the NYS recruits has also been a big challenge, but we've also been trying to support the county government so that it's able to deliver on this matter.
Wakiwa wameamua kweli kusaidia, wasaidie na wajaribu kumaliza nzige.
Licha ya serikali kuu kusisitiza kuwa kemikali zilizotumika kuwakabili nzige ni salama, NTV imeshuhudia visa vya ndege katika maeneo ya Laisamis na Northor kushindwa kupaa na hatimaye kufa baada ya kudona nzige walionyunyuziwa dawa. Hata hivyo, matumaini yapo ya kuangamiza nzige waharibifu wa jangwani kufuatia uzinduzi wa teknolojia ambayo inalenga kutambua maeneo yaliyovamiwa. Teknolojia hii ya Open Kit Data ODK inatumiwa na shirika la Oxfam na Pasida na haihitaji interneti. Mamo Ali, NTV, Marsabit.
Shukran sana Mamo Ali kwa taarifa hiyo. Tukisonga mbele, kanisa Katoliki humu nchini limewataka wafuasi wake kuzingatia maagizo yaliyotolewa kuhusu kujikinga na maambukizi ya COVID-19. Baraza la Maaskofu la Kanisa Katoliki nchini limesema athari za janga hilo zitakuwa ndogo endapo maagizo yataheshimiwa. Walizungumza hayo huku kanisa likiadhimisha Jumapili ya Mitende. Brenda Wanga ana maelezo zaidi.
Kwa kawaida siku ya Jumapili ya Mitende waumini hufurika katika kanisa hili la Holy Family Basilica katikati mwa jiji la Nairobi, lakini leo hali imekuwa tofauti, kisa ni janga la virusi vya corona. Maaskofu walikuwa wachache huku waumini wakilazimika kufuatilia yaliyojiri kwa kutazama kwa runinga nyumbani. Hakukuwa na waumini wa kupewa matawi ya mitende wala wa kuipokea. Misafara ya waumini kuingia kanisani kuashiria safari ya Yesu Kristo kuingia mjini Jerusalem kwa punda haikuwepo. Badala yake, matembezi ya kuyazunguka madhabahu yalitumika kuashiria safari hiyo ya Yesu. Janga la COVID-19 limebadili maisha duniani na hata katika misa hii ya leo, tahadhari ilichukuliwa kila hatua kuhakikisha kusambaa kwa virusi kunadhibitiwa. Kabla sakramenti ilikuwa sharti kila askofu anawe mikono.
The Catholic Church wishes to join the government in appealing to all to obey and strictly adhere to the codes of social distancing, wearing face masks, and taking the sanitary measures very seriously as prescribed by our public health officials.
Huu mwaka tutaelezewa vile maybe mapadri wachache tu ndio wanaweza kukusanyika pamoja na askofu waweze kusherehekea, alafu tufikiwe mpaka na mafuta yale huwa inabarikiwa ya kutumika kwa kanisa. Na jioni pia hakuna kuosha wale 12 miguu kama vile tumekuwa tukizoea, ile chakula cha mwisho cha Kristo, na hata Good Friday kutembea njia ya msalaba nje na nini, hiyo yote hakuna huu mwaka.
Tahadhari hizo pia zitachukuliwa katika misa ya Pasaka Jumapili ijayo. Kadhalika, idadi ya watakaohudhuria ibada ya wafu ya askofu mstaafu marehemu Ndingi Mwanaanzeki itadhibitiwa.
Archbishop Ndingi will be given a befitting church send-off on Tuesday the 7th April 2020 during a brief solemn funeral mass to be celebrated inside the Holy Family Basilica at 10, after which his remains will be laid to rest inside the same basilica same day.
Brenda Wanga, NTV.
Naam, ni wakati wa kutenda haki na kusoma baadhi ya maoni yenu katika NTV. Jioni tumekuuliza, je, vijana waitikie vipi mwito wa serikali wa kudhibiti maambukizi ya virusi vya corona? Vijana wamefungua roho na kusema nasi. Moshi ya Ugali anasema wanatuhitaji tu mambo yakiwa mabaya, lakini wakati wa kugawa nafasi za kazi wanawagawia wazee. Abdurrahman naye hapa anasema kweli kazi kwa vijana mishahara kwa wazee. Vijana tunafaa kuitikia ili kulinda maisha na uchumi wetu wa baadaye. Serikali nayo natumai imegundua vijana ni nguzo muhimu kwa ukuaji wa uchumi. Global Design anasema wataitikia aje na wako na njaa. Serikali yafaa kutoa chakula kwa bei nafuu ili waweze kutekeleza wito huo. Haya basi, endelea kusema nasi kupitia mitandao yetu ya kijamii Facebook, Twitter @Ngoiri official @NTV Jioni. Kwa sasa tunapata matangazo ya kibiashara, lakini usikae mbali maana kikapu letu la NTV Jioni bado halijakauka.
Welcome to the conferencing service.
Emma! Carry on, Ken!
First quarter sales, they're up 90%.
Very good! Very good!
We are looking at a 55 billion shilling profit by the end of the financial year.
Now we are talking! Here we talk billions! Very good! I gotta go! Wacha niendelee na kazi!
A person has left the conference.
Niko nyumbani! Downloads are very fast! Streaming, eco! And I'm just working from here! Stay connected and work from the convenience of wherever you are. Fiber to the home.
Working from home? No problem. Fiber Home has you covered with the fastest and most reliable internet speeds. Get connected today. Kazi lazima iendelee.
Sensitivity is a short, sharp pain that people experience when they have something hot or cold getting to the nerve of the tooth, causing that discomfort. If the sensitivity is left alone, it may get worse. Dentists recommend Sensodyne to their patients. It's able to get inside the tooth and calm the nerve of the tooth down, and the proof's in the results. It works.
PesaLink is the cheapest way to send and receive money instantly into your bank accounts anytime, anywhere. Use PesaLink today in 3 easy steps. Step 1. Select PesaLink on your bank app or USSD. Step 2. Select either send to phone or send to account. Step 3. Input the phone number or account number to send money to and confirm the transaction. PesaLink. Easy, affordable, instant.
I help women find independence by training them in fish farming. It's tough on my back, joints, and can cause headaches. Panadol Extra relieves multiple types of pain. Panadol Extra, now with new Optizorb technology, to fight multiple tough pains with 3 times more pain-relieving medicine in the first 30 minutes when you need it most. Seeing them support themselves makes any pain worth it. If symptoms persist, seek medical advice.
Send M-Pesa up to 1,000 Kenya shillings for free. Avoid contact with paper cash. Safaricom is for you.
Karibu tena na asante sana kwa kuendelea kuwa nami. Imani za kidini duniani zinashuhudia mabadiliko makubwa ya ibada zilizohusisha kutangamana kwa waumini kutokana na janga la corona. Mwanahabari wetu Bridget Kana alizungumza na baadhi ya viongozi wa kidini, waumini na kupata hisia zao kuhusu athari za janga hilo hata baada ya kutatuliwa.
Ni saa 7 adhuhuri na katika msikiti huu wa Bondeni, muadhini anawakumbusha waumini wakati wa kuomba umefika. Tofauti ya wakati huu ni kuwa yuko peke yake msikitini. Ni wiki 2 sasa tangu serikali iamrishe kufungwa kwa maeneo yote ya ibada nchini kuzuia kusambaa kwa virusi vya corona.
Upande wetu sisi Waislamu tumeathirika kiasi kikubwa katika ibada zetu ambazo kwamba tunakusanyika kila siku. Hii sio kumaanisha eti ibada zimesimama, ibada zinaendelea. Lakini katika mwelekeo wa Uislamu ibada kama hizi zinafanywa kwa pamoja na imependekeza sana tufanye kwa pamoja.
Hii leo maadhimisho ya Jumapili ya Mitende haikuadhimishwa kama miaka ya nyuma. Kuhusu hali iliyoko, askofu wa kanisa la Katoliki wa Dayosisi ya Nakuru Morris Mohatia amesema, ninamnukuu, wakati janga hili litakapoisha, nini kitakuwa tumesalia nacho? Kanisa ambalo imani yake kuhusu maji matakatifu imefifia na sakramenti, na hivyo utiifu utapungua. Kanisa ambalo limeathiriwa katika imani yake ya sakramenti, jamii ambayo haitakuwa tena na msukumo wa kuhudhuria misa kanisani. Kulingana na wanasosiolojia, janga la corona ni changamoto kwa itikadi za kidini.
Coronavirus has come at a time when people are now looking up to religion. But again, they will have to assess the religious practices. Whether at this moment religion will help them contain or overcome the situation much better, then they might embrace religion more. But if it does not, then they will embrace religious practices less.
Janga hili italeta mabadiliko makubwa katika ulimwengu wa serikali zote za dunia, wafanyi biashara na hata na kanisa pia. Kanisa litakuwa limeongezeka kwa sababu kuna watu wengi wametambua ya kwamba mali na utajiri katika maisha haya kuna mahali haziwezi kuokoa.
Kesho kutwa Mungu akitujalia Ramadhani tukianza, sio kumaanisha tu kwa vile kuna corona Waislamu hawatafunga ama Waislamu watapostpone Ramadhani. Tuseme Ramadhani ya mwaka huu tutafunga 2021, hapana.
Haijulikani ni lini maeneo ya ibada yatafunguliwa, lakini kwa sasa waumini wataendelea kuzoea kufanya ibada nyumbani. Bridget Ngana, NTV, Nakuru.
Naam, sasa naungana mwanaspoti Joshua Makori. Nani angedhania Jumapili ya Mitende bila waumini?
Hamna. Jeni, dunia imejaribiwa. Na imani ya mtu ni muhimu sana. Kama kuna watu ambao waamini kwamba Mungu hayupo, nafikiri ndo wakati sasa wa kuamini.
Haya basi, Joshua Makori anarejea. Joshua Makori anarejea na taarifa za spoti. Usicheze mbali.
Nyaja wa Kenya, hii ni public service announcement kuhusu coronavirus.
The Ministry of Health advises all returnees from abroad to self-quarantine for at least 14 days, whether they feel well or unwell.
Wash your hands regularly following the 8 steps of hand washing. Wet hands with warm water. Apply a small amount of soap. Rub palms together. Rub fingers and thumbs and the bits in between. Rub nails on palms. Rub the back of each hand. Rinse with clean running water and dry thoroughly with a clean dry towel.
Furthermore, it is advisable to cover your mouth and nose adequately when sneezing or coughing and immediately dispose of the tissue in a dustbin. Please do not use handkerchiefs if you can avoid it. If disposable tissue is unavailable, cough into your elbow. Try and avoid close contact with anyone showing signs of respiratory illness, such as coughing or sneezing.
Before you share any coronavirus information on social media, please verify it with Ministry of Health to avoid panic and alarm among your fellow Kenyans.
Wacha nikupigie, nataka kupata store bonus. Hello, Locust zimeenda? Na kuzeeka, wacha. Na zinapikwaje? 200% store bonus. Locust zinakulwaje bila chumvi na kilo moja mnauzaje? Pokoteni hezi beba, kwa hivyo nikuja napika plini. Ongea na mama yuko hapa.
Tumemaliza story. Shika store kibao na 200% store bonus. Piga simu zaidi, tuma SMS au nunua bundles ufikishe target yako leo. Isitoshe, pata 50% extra airtime unapo top up na kupiga *544*2* amount hash. Safaricom, for you.
Je, maumivu ya kichwa na kukosesha amani? Kaluma Strong hutuliza maumivu ya kichwa, maumivu ya mwili na hata huondoa joto jingi mwilini. Kaluma Strong ina aspirin kama kiungo. Maumivu ya kizidi, muone daktari.
All day, we expect our mouth to do all kinds of things. That is why it needs all-round protection. New Oral-B Pro Health toothpaste. Its advanced technology helps prevent both tooth holes and gum problems that can lead to tooth loss. It strengthens your teeth, giving them all-round protection. Because your mouth is doing more than you think. New Oral-B Pro Health. All-round protection for your whole mouth.
Send M-Pesa up to 1,000 Kenya shillings for free. Avoid contact with paper cash. Safaricom is for you.
Wakati wa kudunda viwanjani sasa, haraka upesi wananiita Yosho Makori. Kocha na mumiliki wa taasisi ya kandanda ya Back to Basics Rajabu Babu anaamini kwamba Kenya ina uwezo mkubwa kuwaibua wanasoka mahiri duniani iwapo itajikita katika kuwatambua na kuwakuza wale wanaoibuka. Taasisi ya Babu yenye zaidi ya wachezaji 80 walio kati ya umri wa miaka 12 na 15 imefungwa huko Mombasa Sports Club kwa sababu ya janga la homa ya corona. Babu alijifunza ukocha huko Brazil, nyumbani mwa mabingwa mara 5 wa kombe la dunia.
I learned a lot. Kule kuna mpira wapikwa huko, tusidanganyane. Kule mpira wapikwa. It's serious business. I've been in Europe, I've been in Asia, I've been in Africa, lakini mpira wapikwa Brazil. Nilipofika kule, Mungu alinijalia ngapata opportunity kama 3. One, ile timu unakuwa attached na timu pre-season. Nilikuwa attached na Flamengo. Flamengo is the biggest club in Brazil. Iko na followers wengi. Coincident, Romario was playing for Flamengo. So my assignment katika class ilikuwa to study Romario. Asubuhi napelekwa, jioni napelekwa.
Menyolewa, hiyo ndio maana unaisikia nyuma ya background. Vinara wa ligi kuu ya Uingereza Liverpool ndio wa hivi punde kuwapa likizo wafanyikazi wasiokuwa wachezaji kwa muda usiojulikana. Wafanyikazi watapokea 80% ya mishahara yao kupitia mpango wa serikali wa ajira, lakini hatua hiyo imekashifiwa na waliokuwa wachezaji wa Liverpool Jamie Carragher na Stan Collymore. Tayari wenzao katika ligi kuu ya EPL Newcastle, Tottenham, Bournemouth na Norwich wametangaza kuwapa likizo wafanyikazi ambao hawachezi kandanda.
We go to the other side, straight away. Come back, Ox. Romo, play here. Stop! That's football! With speed, Ando! Here, Ox!
Wakati mwingine nauma, unakuja unamang'ang'ana lakini uone kile ulichong'ang'ana kwayo.
Ndio maana unasema kila siku ipo siku na Mungu.
Lakini kwa hii haipo.
Mungu halali na Mungu halisima. Tulikuwa tumeuliza vijana wataitikia vipi mwito wa serikali. Kopa anasema naona vijana wengi bado wanaungana kwa vikundi na waomba wakome na wachukue hii fursa kusaidia serikali kudhibiti huu ugonjwa. We shall overcome. Wa mwisho tu kabisa anasema swala zito ni serikali imechukulia vipi vilio vya vijana wake. Mbona wanasubiri janga ndio wakati vijana wajitume? Jamani, hapa ni heshima tu. Yataka usaidizi, wachanao wachunge vijana, si kuwapiga kama mbwa. Hayo mambo ya ukoloni. Na mtazamaji, basi sio maoni yangu, sio maoni ya Joshua Makori, sio maoni ya NTV Jioni, lakini ni maoni ya watazamaji wetu, na shukrani za dhati kwa muda wako. Naitwa Ngoiri. Katika lugha ishara tulikuwa naye David Agondoa.
Mungu atuweke.
Kwa heri, kesho inshallah.
This is NTV. I help women find independence.